a very known person. I've made a choice to kind of stand in the background for a number of years and kind of let David kind of lead the charge out there. And we had a very interesting relationship. You know, we were partners for a long time, and we've had a lot of people try to infiltrate our constructs. And so we're weeding that out right now as the people and the world becomes educated about actually who's on contract and who's not. It'll just kind of weed itself out because there's a lot of bad actors out here making all kinds of crazy claims. It's like I'm looking at my charters and I'm seeing David and my autograph, right? But I'm not seeing any of these people anywhere near this. And so for me, it's like uh, it's quite a thing to be a part of because, you know, the people, this is about not about me, but this is about giving for the people.
Yeah.
And the people are just so hungry for something positive that they reach out to these people unbeknownst to the citizens who are stepping forward saying, hey man, this looks cool. And they're going to different locations around the world. And then these people are wrong leading the people thinking that there's some kind of authorization or some kind of credentialing in place. And that's not actually what's happened here. David, unfortunately, made some choices. And I didn't participate with his choices with some of the people he was choosing to help. And because of that, you know, I was pretty beat down, and, you know, David was always protected, you know, always safeguarded, and never had to go through any of the battles. And the U.S. Marshal Service and those who were in those court battles, they would talk to me about this at length, saying, Russell, this is unfair to you. You are standing your ground. You're being honest. You're being, you know, taking your whippings very kindly, you know, very humbly. And, you know, I never got mad at anyone because I know that they're not decision makers. They were just simply following a trigger mechanism of administrative mechanics, which I broke down worldwide in banking and our day-to-day life usuries in our paperwork. So, you know, in our contracts and how governments are formed and all those things. So I chose not to follow David and the people he was doing business with.
Yeah, and finally you put him out of his position. I remember like that video went a little bit viral within the community, you know, and then I saw it, and you know, a certain person who tries to make you look like a villain was
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah
And what they do, see, the problem with those people that were so new into Dave's world is they didn't have enough background on David to make this good choices.
yeah
And then when they made choices, they thought that David was correct, and he had already vacated his estate um, for the usury of some of the things that we had built.
yeah
And actually, it was a sad day because he couldn't remember anything,
yeah.
right? So I'd be
Yeah,
asking things,
please
and
tell me how did it come about that you decided like he's not okay in his mind?
yeah, it was a choice based upon his performances that he kept failing. You could see him, and in his failures, he would like tell half lies and not even realize it, and then the world would take that and publish it like it was some kind of. And so the guy that was most accountable for that was Mark hyphen Christopher colon Kershawn. He would get on videos with David, and David would be telling half truths, right? That he would do something and it wasn't the whole story, which would have changed people's perspective about what David was saying.
Yeah,
And so he wasn't giving the full closure that the people need before they make choices so that they have the necessary picture to make a decision in their mind whether they choose, because you don't want to trespass on people's free will, right? And so you want to make sure that the citizens of the world have the necessary closure so they can make choices. And so when I was seeing David do that, I then made a decision to court martial him, which was in my guidelines as a commander in chief. David was very cognizant of that. David could not enter in as a commander in chief. There was boundary lines that he could not go to because he surrendered the flag in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 2006 in a federal court. So here
really?
in the States, yeah, he took the fiction oath. He had to surrender his flag position, whereas I stood my flag position, and the federal government honored that. So when he surrendered his flag, he surrendered all his credentialing to start authorizing people, authorizing courts, authorizing all these functions. And 90% of those people that he authorized are in jail to this day for quite some time. The rest will go there eventually. I have no doubt about it. Or they'll be just taken off the rock, either one. That's their choice. But so when I saw him telling those half truths, and then I moved into court martialing, and actually was really, it's not coincidental because he was slipping so bad, and I could see it because I was closest to him. He was actually dead within a year of that court martialing. He had actually died.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like I was trying to be bad towards David. I was trying to safeguard the people and safeguard the technologies that him and I had built in previous times, earlier in his life. It's unfortunate that he made the choice.
The flag?
Yeah.
When did he
What's that?
When did he surrender the flag?
He surrendered the flag in 2006.
Wow.
So anything after 2006, it was all, he begged me to come under the guidelines of my flag. And so he showed up at my house. I was living in Ruidoso, New Mexico at the time. And he showed up at the house and begged me to come back on board with me. And I said, David, I'll let you on board, but there's two things. Number one, you can't go authorizing people, and you can't go outside the banking construct. And the first thing he did is when we got together, a couple years later, we opened up the Benjamin Franklin Postal Court, and we had just disqualified the International Maritime Commission out of the UK. And in that, I wrote a guideline on how to set up foreign banks. He took that charter and registered it and went to the Chinese military, gave it to the Chinese military, and 48 days later, they announced BRICS Bank. So he was doing things that, and I didn't get paid for it. So BRICS Bank is going down. Make no wrong about that. They owe me quite a bit because they weren't smart enough and didn't have the authorization to set up a bank. So within that construct, David broke the breach of our contract. I asked him about it. He said, well, just, the world needs to have this technology. The world needs to know. I said, yes. I says, but do you work for free? I says, I don't work for free. Right. I put real value in what I do and value in the technologies and the techniques that I have to help countries set up central banking systems and help people around the world. David, without my consent, gave that to China, as well as the copyrights to the programming the subspace for the 5G, what he called the quantum transducers. And when they did that, that's when they did their attacks with so that's when people go sue, like for the 5G, sue all these companies. They just take the lawsuits and pitch them in the trash because David underwrote the copyrights. One small thing is he put my number on the contract because he didn't have authorization. When he put my number on the contract, it null and voids the contract for the 5G. And these are things that will be covered as I move forward here and the people become knowledgeable about the techniques that I have. This is a military operation worldwide. Yeah. They have been working on this for a long time. This is not a new thing. It's just new to the general public because now we are being bombarded and influenced by the science technologies that are being used to manipulate our minds and manipulate our thinking and control social engineering. So these are things that I come against. I am not for the quantum banking system. We will not be taking the vaccines. We will not be taking the tattoos and the chipping. And these are things that the citizens within the construct of the quantum banking system will not be a part of. Now, if anybody tries to force that, this is where I come into place and where tough love gets doled out. I'm a very kind person, a very gentle person, but there's two sides to this. I'm also very firm and very technical and tactical on how I approach things. And the federal governments and the world governments around the world are very cognizant of this. They know that if I say something, I mean it, and I do what I say. Yeah. And so that's valuable to me, and I don't want to go against my words and the trust that when people see my plight and see my story, please comprehend the federal judicial system and the world banking community, they made me, right? They gave me their secrets. I got them out of them because of the stick-to-itiveness that I showed and the honor and the meekness and the things that they shared with me in confidentiality to make sure that this planet wouldn't get hurt. And so because they looked into the condition, I put my condition of heart on trial, why I was doing this, how it helps mankind. And that was forefront in my life, and how I conducted myself in very stressful and difficult situations. David made the choices not to go through those tests, and the federal judicial system doesn't honor him at all because of that. So it's an interesting thing for me.
So I mean, you saw there were some things which are not normal at Foucault and David's, and um, you just assess and you make a decision
Well,
for the good
you,
of
you,
the people. And
yeah, you guys gotta keep in mind,
yeah,
I was close with David. He was my best friend,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So you have to come where I'm coming from. I have so many days on fishing in streams and hiking around and welding and being in the lab and all the things that we did together, right? These are things that the general public didn't get to see. So when I made that choice on the court martialing, it was based upon me giving him mine. Hey, David, man, you don't have authorization to do. Oh, well, they don't know, and I didn't realize, I can't remember. And the main thing he would say is, I can't remember. When he kept on doing that over and over and over again, he would hide behind what he would call the McNaughton rule. Oh, Russell, I can't remember doing that. I can't remember getting the bank charter. McNaughton rule. Well, how many times do I have to accept that to be cognizant that he did not have the wherewithal to have a mind to remember what the commitments that he had made? And so when he broke those commitments over and over and over again, it forced me into a situation where I had to do something. Otherwise, a lot of people would get hurt. And a lot of people are getting hurt. Look at this fool, Christopher Coleman Kushad. This is a guy with no credentialing at the federal postal court, but he's not on any of the charters. And yet he's out there publishing that he's this someone that knows something, when it's all plagiarism off none of his original thinking, none of his firsthand knowledge in a foreign courtroom, right? All things on hearsay, thinking that he's developed something and doing something, and taking people off skew down a road that just is not a valid situation. Unfortunately for the people, because I have not, I'm doing a better job now coming forward with shows like yours, Winifred's and Ramola's, and different things that I'll be doing, so to give the people the necessary full closure so they can make their own choices, make their own minds up. It's not up to me to persuade anybody. Here's the facts, the logistics of what I've been doing. Here's the track record that I have on this. And contract means you're joining with and staying on track, right? You're staying on that track of the performance. And the people of the world can get behind and look at what I've done, and then evaluate what David did. David is, he was a genius. He was an eccentric genius. He was a brilliant man, a wonderful friend, but a difficult enemy. And so when I learned these things, as I, went through the court system, and sit across the table where I would force judges to come off the bench, take off their robes, and they would be in tears with me, right? Crying, giving me the secrets that they had for that specific venue, and a lot of technical stuff that I don't give society, because I honor those judges and that function. Judgeships are not sold, they're earned. When you see people out there selling federal postal court judgeships, know for one, number one, that I didn't authorize it. And number two, it shows me how little they know, right? Because you don't sell judgeships. Those are qualities that are earned, and that earning comes through a learning curve. That learning curve you must take upon yourself to go through that journey in the middle of the foreign ports. Unfortunately, because the foreign ports have changed and it's such a chameleon, those chances in time and space are very minimal because of the martial law. And so under martial law, the court systems of the world are closed, right? And so it's a different function. Even though they act like they're open, that's only open for, You come in, you hire an attorney, you pay, or you pay filing fees, and they keep on taking your money, and and you don't get anywhere.
Right.
Every once in a while, they'll let the concept of what they want for their further agenda make it look like a victory. But for the most part, it's pretty much a harvest against we the people. Foreign courts are closed worldwide because of the martial law. So it is what
Right now, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of martial law and G5 thing happening, there is some confusion with people. There are some people who say G5 is inevitable. It's a high frequency thing, and people who are not on a high frequency within themselves, um, they will not survive it. And there are other people who say this 5G thing is actually a weaponized something
Sure.
used as kind of giving you internet, but it can be used just to kill. We are confused. Everybody is so confused and scared. What do you think about that?
Well, those are two very valid perspectives.
Okay.
What I look at is, yes, the technology is in place,
Yes.
but can the technology be used to change the harmonic resonance to create a positive scenario for our fellow mankind, where we change our octanes and we change the synthesizing on the harmonics to allow a synthesis to flow harmonically so where everybody's at peace?
Yes.
Or do we continue the division? So my saying on that is that for me, I'm going to go talk to the people that are in charge of tuning of the frequencies. And that there's where we have the conversations. Remember, please keep in mind, to you and to your viewers, technology is only as good as the people behind it. If the people behind the technology, the condition of thinking is to damage their fellow mankind, well, then that style of thinking needs to be moved out. And this is where I come in. This is where the tough love part of me comes in.
Are you
So, go ahead.
are you giving them a notice that they should put the frequency on the right way?
Please keep in mind, I don't go write paperwork.
Yeah.
I show up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little different in my world, a little different. I don't have to give notification or publication. I'm a performer, right? I just show up. Then I'll take care of it when I get there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
say if there is such a 5G something, a 5G tower somewhere, which is giving a problem to people, and if you are invited, then you will come and
Yes.
make the things correct.
Well, I will go speak with the military. This is a military operation.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, you guys, you're in the civilian sector.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of classified things that I will not give society based upon the knowledge and the confidentiality contracts that people have given me to articulate for the best concerns of the people. And I would definitely go in there and talk to them about that. This is not, the 5G is not a civilian operation. This is a military operation. Luckily for me, I control all militaries on the planet. And let me give you closure on how I do that.
Yeah.
Before anyone goes into their the branch of military that they choose, be it Air Force, Navy, Army, whatever branch they are, they come under what's called a registration number first. And that registration number goes through the post office. That post office central system is logged into the Universal Postal Union. And I'm a private trust as the Postmaster General Director, owner of the Global-Postal-Union and joiner to stop grammar within the construct of the Universal Postal Union. So here I am. Yeah. So I'm already sunk within on contracts and usury for compliance. So now when I go over to their location, I hometown the boys club, so to speak, yeah. Right? And I take my position to articulate the tools of mechanics so that they they comply with the usuries that they're in. So they're not actually Royal Guards or Swiss Guards. They're actually first work, they're postal conscripts. And so you got to comprehend in the postal conscripts of things, they are, um, um, they're my little bossaries.
Okay, okay. So, uh, thank you, thank you for giving this kind of explanation because
Sure, sure. And see, here's like documents. So when David died, the Postal Union and the U.S. Post Office,
yeah,
they send me stuff. They send me stuff like this,
yeah,
right?
your new
So,
address.
yeah, my location. Yeah. So when Dave dies, right? Because we were shareholders, we had our ship's channels put to his location. Everything got moved over into my location in the corporate world.
Yeah,
Right? From the Benjamin Franklin, from the federal-postal courts
yeah,
to the quantum banking system to the postal, everything was moved because of I'm the author, right? I'm the actual author. David was the actual witness. And those that have been around long enough within the construct of the quantum banking program, they
yeah,
know this, and so do the world banking families. They know that I built all the crypto-currencies and digital platforms. These are all my concepts. Unfortunately, people are stealing them, thinking that they've got something really cool, and coming in probably 6, 7 years after the fact. So it's quite a thing.
yeah,
Watching, and right now, my goal is I'm not out educating the banking community because I'm busy changing out the world economy.
yeah.
And so as I do that, I educate the bankers on a need to know basis, because every time I educate them, they steal my concepts.
Interesting ideas.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just and that now I can kind of afford not to have that happen,
Yeah.
so I can get me some tone setters and go set up the pecking order, so to speak.
Okay. Speaking of banks, speaking of banks, a lot of us are having quite quite a hardship with banks.
Mhm.
Like for example, my house. I used to live in the Netherlands. I came to Israel just 5 years ago. With,
Mhm.
in the meanwhile, they the one who lent me the money, they they just are going to auction my house as 16 January 2020. uh, they gave from district court, they gave the permission to auction sell my house. I wrote them in the correct sentence structure that's not correct and everything else, but they wouldn't honor that. They send me an email saying, "Oh, you better hire an attorney." I say, "No,
Or-
no thing. I'm not gonna take an attorney, even if I lose that house. I don't care, but I'm not gonna go back to that." What
yeah.
do you say about this? What
Well,
can I do?
there's a couple things that you got to keep in mind
Mm,
when you're talking to the bank. You're just simply talking to the middleman.
yeah,
Right? You get to nobody, right? Just the middleman carrying on administrative
mm,
mechanics. So you got to keep that in mind when you deal with these central banking systems.
mm,
The banks themselves get their authorization from the central banking systems, who get their authorization from that country's post office.
mhm,
This is where you should be writing the post office saying, bring the Postmaster General for Russell-J. Gould to settle this negotiation. Because in the quantum banking system, the people of the world get to keep their homes. The central banks and the banking systems are just merely the middleman,
yeah,
kind of harmless. Get out of our way.
yeah,
So because of that, we come back in through the post office, giving you a land hyphen title
yeah,
for quiet hyphen title for your lands, and then we or come back in and direct the military to keep that safe. So you're talking to the courts, and the courts are closed again, right? You're traversing back into something that doesn't exist, and so they're going to harvest you.
yeah,
You got to stay on point with the martial law, right? It's because of the how they're you would like to say advertising, but the advertisement of their flag etiquette shows a different story. Please keep in mind, the people of the world are controlled by the hieroglyphics and the symbolism that they see.
yeah.
So becoming knowledgeable in that is a very valuable tool. And there, I could go into that for quite some time as my key
Well,
master function.
maybe another day you could do with.
Oh yes, yes.
Um, if you have, if you have the tenacity and the will to give more knowledge, I'll be happy. I would be happy.
Yeah, right now I'm kind of just not giving a whole lot out. I'm telling my story and I'm giving things, but without giving the technical things,
Yeah,
because next thing I know, I'll have 100 more people plagiarizing what I'm doing.
yeah,
So that's unfortunate, but I'm going to get back up to up into more of a government location and see how that works on my interactions because of the finances that I can give to the world. And
yeah,
hopefully that will open the necessary door to make sure that the citizens of the world, all mortgages, of course, are fraudulent and in violation of Title 18, 1001, fictitious grammar.
yeah,
And the banks themselves are all shut down because of the martial law. The banks themselves are closed too because of the martial law, right? So because that's the civil sector. During civil sector times, during martial law, contract is suspended,
yeah.
which means that there are no banks. There are no countries. It's simply a feudal system under might makes right. And so
So,
I guess that's the direction that people want to go. It's not how I want to go.
yeah,
I'm a lover, not a fighter. But if I've got to change the dynamics here and set the tone, I'm also a tone setter and very trendy in that world as well
okay.
because I do what I say. That's the difference.
So, is there any chance I can save my house or get back my house?
I would suggest writing the central postal system for your country, for your location. And where are you exactly located?
I'm located in Israel, actually between
Oh,
Israel and Jordan.
oh,
But
okay.
my house is in the Netherlands because I used to live there.
Yeah.
And when I came here, I rented it to a couple of students. And when I tried to go back, they wouldn't go out of the house. And the law over there, it protects the renters a bit more than the owner of the house. So in the meanwhile, I suppose they made a deal with the money lender not to go out and not to react to my letters or whatever. And in the meantime, I got a letter that it's being brought to the district court, and I wrote to them that this is fraud, but they wouldn't honor it. They give the banker verdict at the
Sure.
16th January that he may auction sell it.
Well, I would suggest writing the local military in because the civilian sector is closed.
Yeah,
And how are these civilian sector people moving forward under a condition of state of martial law and ask for their custody until they can figure it out, until the people that don't have knowledge can figure it out.
yeah,
Hey, banks and everything's closed right now. It's all martial law. All contract is suspended on the planet.
okay,
And so we saw evidence of this the other day at the United Nations. They didn't fly any flags outside. And somebody sent me, hey, what does this mean? There's no flags flying. It's like all countries are closed right now because of the martial law.
wow.
That's what this is actually about.
So,
So
what should I mean? I wouldn't know how to do this. Is there a
just, just,
way you could
just I would direct the because you don't know. I would direct that country's central military to contact and write the post office simultaneously, the head post office, telling them to contact me so I can give them the necessary technology on how to safeguard you. Because I don't feel comfortable giving that over the air because everybody's going to steal those techniques.
Yeah. So,
But but at the end of the day, they're all going to find out that they have to come through me, whether they like it or not. And so whether they like me or don't like me,
well,
uh,
there are
I'm a
many.
hard guy. I'm a hard guy to get to know. But once you get to know me, I'm pretty easy going. I like to have fun. I'm a fun guy, no doubt about it. I like to have fun. I like to do a lot of fun things. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You can count on it. You can count on it in my world.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm very serious too, and I take my work very serious. I've been focused on helping planet Earth for a long time, and looking at the dynamics of grammar and the syntax, what's really wonderful about this is how I can translate, or you can translate, or everybody can translate in and out of all languages in the world, and there's no deviation in our sentence structure.
Yeah.
Now think about that for a second. Think about the value of communicating in Dutch back to Chinese to English, and losing no deviation in translation. Oh, oh, it's hip. It's way hip, right? It's like, wow. What you've just done is you've just weeded out all controversy. So now the attorneys don't have any, oh, wait a minute, they don't get paid as much.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the people get to save their money and not have to pay the attorneys anymore? What's that worth?
Priceless.
Priceless. Yes, this is priceless technology. This is valuable because instead of fighting between one faith or one ideology, you can now look at the styles of syntax and quantumize them and fill in the missing techniques.
Yeah.
This is what we do, this is what I do, is because I've been doing it so long, my capacity of syntax and fill in the missing holes to find out what the author didn't know is very easy to do. Yeah. Once we sit down with the leaders of different faiths and different organizations and we look at their books that they believe in, and they pontificate on or translate on or whatever it is that they think they're doing, we then can now look at the style of syntax, and as we have one faith that hates another faith, we can find a common ground to keep it rule one and rule same, so that everybody has a fair playing field and everybody has the same concept. I'd like to ask you one question. What did you do with your own thinking to bring yourself to Earth?
What I did to bring myself to Earth?
With your own thinking?
I have no idea, but I know how I came into your technology.
Sure. So that you have the same confusion as everyone else, because we've done nothing with our own thinking to bring ourselves into our mother's womb, right? That was not our thinking.
Yeah.
That was somebody else's choice. Hopefully it was a choice. And in that choice, we are the causality of it. So we are all equal. We are all the same. So there's our common ground, right? We are all the same. Yeah. So when you take a faith and you take a concept and you have opposing or contesting concepts, and yet we're all the same, and we all love our families, we all love our loved ones, we all want a roof over our head, we all want good food, we all want clean water, we want all the things that they hold over us, so to speak. They give us bad food, they take our homes from us, they do all of these things. This is not what the love and the concept of being one is all about. Being one is having a sense of fairness, and this is where the grammar comes in, and the value of putting the verb of thinking on trial, right? And what that actually means within the syntax of the cause, the consequence, the verb, the possession, and authority within the sentence structure of the correct communication parts, say syntax grammar and quantum grammar mechanics. So these are tools that when you look at the faiths and you look at the concept of everybody's constantly at war, this is what brings it all together. And this is where I come into play to help that facilitate. I'm sitting down currently with many different leaders of many different faiths, and they all express the same concerns. So.
Okay. Now I have a few more questions for you, because
sure.
Probably you are the most intelligent, wise man living on the earth right now.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, thank you. If that's so, well then thank the people. I hope that I earn their trust, and I am cognizant that trust is earned. It's not given. And so when they look at my track record and the things that I've done, they will see that I have stood up against all odds, and I've stood my ground to sustain and maintain a position of continuity with the joinder of the contracts that David and I constructed and put into play for planet Earth.
Yeah. So I have a few friends who wanted me to ask you a couple of things. Probably not really connected to the quantum grammar, but then more what's happening right now in our time. So one of the questions was, um, is Trump, President Trump, on the people's side or on the cabal's side? What do you think?
Who's this now? Can you say that again?
Trump, President Trump,
Trump.
Trump.
You know,
Is he on our side or on the other side?
Follow the money. If people ask me these questions on a daily, I have never met the gentleman. I cannot be biased or prejudicial. So I would ask the same if anybody's never met me. I'm different in different settings. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But when you look at the overall construct of where I'm moving with everything that I do, hopefully Mr. Trump can take, because he's not a president, the Federal Elections Commission was disqualified, everything, when you look at because I syntax what they call statement of candidacy, which statement is a pronoun, of is an adverb, modifying the pronoun backwards, statement, and the candidacy verb forward. And every single sentence on that contract to run for a position of a president is in a box, which means there's nothing there. Sadly, when he got into position, he had no flag, no military, no treasury, no postal, no ports, and so for me, it looked like a real bad scenario for him. I feel sorry for him because from a tactical command position, which I'm not going to share that with society, the techniques that he's using are not at the tactical command control position that they should be. And I could give him counsel on that, but that's not for society. That's would be for him, but on a one-on-one conversation. But I can't make a choice whether he's on the side of the people. I know that he surrounds himself with real bad actors, right? So I have to take a look. I have to take a look at that. Yeah, I have to take a look at that. I'm like, what? Hiring that? You got to be out of here. So he hires bad people. So that tells me something. Either he's not paying attention, or he's doing something else.
Oh, there is also the QAnon thing. Is it a psyop? Because people say he communicates to the people through the QAnon messages and everything. And just yesterday, I was watching one of his videos where he says words totally wrongly, but then on purpose. And they say that's his way of communicating to QAnon people so they can bring the word out to the people. So is QAnon a real thing or is it just a psyop?
Well, I am watching all of this from a neutral position. Yeah. And there's something bringing and directing a thinking, a concept on society. And please keep in mind what I said earlier. Bringing that concept forward is only as good as the people behind it. Yeah. So for me to make a decision on whether QAnon is good or bad is unfair to QAnon because I've never had those conversations. I've never met anyone. And so I'm not judgmental, right? You're asking me to make a presumption, assumption, and a conclusion. Wow. And I'm not really good at that unless I go talk to somebody and meet them face to face and hang out and just and feel their energy and what that's all about. So
yeah, no, I apologize. I don't want.
But is there something out there bringing some kind of concept of thinking towards society? Yes, there is. Right. To what ends? I couldn't even begin to tell you because I've never met them. And so I can't make a decision one way or another. It is making people think, and that's a good thing because people have been in the, with Bush and Obama and all them, these people couldn't think. They were walking zombies out here. At least now I can say with Trump in there and your QAnon and all these things, at least they're making people think.
Yeah.
And only good can come out of that, because then hopefully that will spark the necessary free will to step into these people to where they can make necessary choices. And hopefully they have the courage to, to do the correct thing when no one's looking.
I got it. Got it. Okay. Um, I know you give lessons, or some of with your partner give the grammar lessons once a week, and you obviously you want people to know about this in a very easy and good distribute way, because you're not asking for it money, or like some do, like 13,000 pounds they ask some of them.
What?
Yeah.
What? Are people getting that much now for using my technology?
I don't know, but I heard like someone was saying, oh, this dude, he wants 13,000 pounds or something for the whole thing. And some of them, they ask um, gold and silver, all kinds,
Sure, sure.
we give it freely. And I just want to thank you, even though haven't been able to join until now. But
I don't know what's going on with. Okay, so please comprehend where I'm coming from.
yeah,
I'm in a world where I work for a living, right? I process precious metals, and I've made a lot of sacrifices because I have not really given to myself. And as far as my needs, none of my needs are being met. But there are people teaching. I have the quantum, quantum support teams, and I have different people around the world that are teaching the quantum grammar. But as far as going into courts right now, courts are closed because of the martial law, so none of that should be happening because courts are closed, right? So people, instead of doing that, need to be writing the military, telling them to bring me forward, or writing the post office telling them to bring me forward so I can fix the situation. Please comprehend, the governments can't fix this because I have not given the knowledge nor the authorization. The knowledge that will be given to help the people, and with no other terms other than a few things that are necessary to facilitate that for the fellow mankind. There is no poverty on the planet anymore. Those days are gone, right? There is no where we're without homes anymore. What needs to happen is they need to bring me forward so I can put the tools and the constructs to join within what I've built, the paradigms that I've built, so that the people now become the beneficiaries of it, and the governments as administrators and fall into the guidelines of what I've set up on a global level. And they're very cognizant of this, but interacting with them, these are the things that I will go do next as soon as I finish up my jobs here. So I'm working on that. As far as me teaching grammar lessons, I'm a pretty private guy. I don't have a lot, I'm going to find others in my life, to share it with, but I'm not out teaching grammar lessons right now. I have a great, there is one legitimate federal-postal judge, and his name is Monty-Edwin Mueller, and he gives great lessons on syntax, right? But he knows that the courts are closed. He's in complete compliance. And he's got quite a story with David. He was with David for 20 years as well. So he's got a different journey with David. But at the end of the day, he 100% supports me because I taught him things that David would not. And I'll let him give his testimony. I'm not going to For me, I don't have to say it is what it is. I'm not here to bash Dave or to discredit Monty in any way. But he gives great grammar lessons. There are Muriel Colin Biggs is learning her writing style and different writing styles. I look at people's writing styles that are really not up to speed as far as that goes. I can see that there's a lot of holes. And so maybe next time if I do ever put on I don't foresee it, but maybe countries will have me come in and put on grammar presentations for them. At that point, they can see how syntaxing works, the order of operations, the styles, different words, different values. There's much techniques to it, and so But for me, I'm not out teaching people right now. I'm out searching for my own needs right now. So I'm gonna handle all of that, and then step forward to the world as well.
Because I was thinking like every Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that is through Muriel, and that's run out of Canada, and they do a good job. They do a good job. It's not the Red Thumb Club anymore. I think they call themselves forthequantum.com or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what they call themselves anymore. I apologize. I told you I work, and I'm not really hip to a lot what's going on out there other than what I do on a day-to-day level.
Oh, I thought they were operating under your.
They are, but I'm different. I'm not a micromanager. Told you guys that.
You are not a babysitter.
Yeah, I don't do the babysitting gig. No, you heard about me. You heard about me. Yeah, I don't do the babysitting gig. People are grown men, and it gets kind of dangerous sometimes in the spots that I go, and I don't have time to really turn around. I mean, it gets pretty wild in front of me sometimes, and I get to see some pretty neat manifestations.
Yeah.
And I have a different experience because of that, right? My walk and my stories and the things that I've seen in the banking arena, that I see them changing their tune on the global banking community. Now they're not calling me crazy. They're just calling me, what was the word they used? Witty. I'm witty, I'm not crazy anymore. You're real witty, right? And so it's like, oh, not that I'm witty. It's just I built something. You guys all know what I built. Yeah. And so I'm having to deal from I'm looking down back at them going, you guys can't read and write. You got nothing here. Your commerce is worthless. Your money's worthless. You got nothing. And who are you again exactly? So for me, it's a little different perspective. But for most, those people are not to be messed with. It's a very dangerous scene. And that's why when I say, it's not that I'm trying to babysit anyone. It's just I'm taking care of my surroundings to make sure that tactically and technically the people that are good to go, right? Because you better be good to go. Like the one lady that I take quite often with me, like when the CIA comes up to her, they come into the room and she goes, stick their hand up and goes, fiction, get. CIA puts their heads down, walk out the door, and they turn around at the door and they're like, does everybody have to have a contract with Russell? And the lady's like, yes. Damn it, Russell again. And they walk out the door, So our interactions, people that are good to go, because I got people that are good to go, right, that I can take on a phone call and, hey, we need to step here, here, and here. They're good to go. And I don't have to tell them a whole lot because they are federal-postal court-judges. They are technically sound, but they don't go out and run their mouths in advertisement. They know what they know. And the military and the judicial system, they know that these people are good to go. And they're not to be messed with because they can pick you apart. And that's guaranteed.
Yeah. That is yeah, I know that little bit about you is that once I was watching one of early videos where you were doing with David. You had I don't know tens of uh, caps, hats, and you were putting them like in every movement, and I was like, huh? but that was a long time ago. Now I do get what you were trying to do. You want to show like every movement has its own energetic something that's right.
The value of the knowledge,
Yeah,
okay, the value of the knowledge
yeah,
in a quantum world
yeah.
really projects or accelerates one's capacity
Mm-hmm.
to learn and retain the quanta to bring it down to the quantum.
Mm-hmm.
So then you must look at, so what I'm saying here is you can enter into, if you're not limited to just your single PhD,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the quantum world is about: is take control of your worlds.
Yeah,
What do you want to learn? Please, I am not here to micromanage you. And
yeah,
that's why when you ask me about these people teaching that,
yeah,
yes, I authorize them to teach because they prove to me they can syntax. But do I stay on top of what they're doing? That's not the job of a government. The job of a government is not to be in the business of their people. The
yeah.
job of the government is to be the public fiduciary and serve the people their needs, and then get out of the way and let the creativity and the condition of heart and the condition of mind be brought forth.
Right on. Yeah,
Well, it is what it is.
or I concur.
It is what it is on that one.
Okay. I have maybe it's you don't know about this, but something I want to ask you about this debt society. We have mortgages, we have credit card debts, and debt here, debt there. You have to pay for this and for that, and now we are locked down. We can't even work to make our money to pay for those things.
Mhm.
And uh, there was just it flied by me, but there is a kind of community. I'm gonna email it to you. Maybe I don't know how far they want to be known, but I like you to check them out if that's something, because they are saying for uh, one, let's say $1, when you take from the bank, they make uh, $10 from it and they lend it to someone else. Now, in
Right.
their system, when you take that $1 from the bank the, and you bring it to their system, then it cancels the 10 plus the 1 but for this one. And for the new system, it creates 10 times more for you. And it's called Universal Law Community, something like that. Do you know about this? Russell, you froze. Russell.